All right, man. We are recording. We got Mike Ashton.
What's up?
How are you doing, man?
I'm good. It's been a fun couple of months.
Hmm.
But no, I'm doing good. Just doing my thing and getting my athletes ready for the upcoming season. So,
Mm.
bit of
So,
a change from the last time we chatted though.
right? Oh, well, you've been Mr. Change.
Yeah.
We are in the middle of we just jumped right into the Raise the Bar podcast with our longest, long-term running guest, Coach Mike Ashton. And Mike, you have just been a busy bee. When I met you through one of my former jumpers, you were at Utah Valley, and
hmm
then you moved and started working for the U.S. government, Armed Forces, the Army, right?
Yep. At West Point.
West Point, couple years there, one or two?
Two.
2 years there. And
hmm
then now, like any other good college student or coach, you have bounced up the ladder. And
Yeah.
where are you at now? Tell the listeners where you're at.
I am now currently at Penn State. I just started. My first day was the beginning of September. Um, it was a very, very quick transition. Like I was legitimately ready for the season, getting the season going, like prepping for first day of practice in August. And then, this interview popped up, this opportunity kind of came out of nowhere, applied. And yeah, everything just kind of fell into place. And then I was here beginning of September.
Right,
Easier move, 3.5 hours as opposed to 33 hours.
right,
So that
nice.
was that was that was the upside. But yeah, State College, which is the town that Penn State is actually in, and Penn State's been awesome. Like it's been such a really cool opportunity, working at an institution that's not only just like great athletically, but just has such a great reputation across the country. The track team just in general has always had a really good reputation across the country. And yeah, I'm excited to kind of do my thing here and see what we
Yeah.
can make happen. So,
What's the official job title now? What are you in charge of?
so I am in charge of men's and women's pole vault and men's high jump. So we'll see. I feel like responsibilities and coaching staffs are always changing every year.
Hmm.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm just happy where I'm at right now. I at West Point was going to have 28 total athletes with multis, pole vault, and high jump, and
Right,
now I'm down to 8.
right.
So,
Yeah,
little bit of a different setup. I feel like I got a lot more time on my hands.
right.
So, but it's been good. The athletes that I got, I only have one freshman. He's a male high jumper, and then the rest are returners. So they all kind of know what they're doing. They've all gone through the freshman year, struggles and improvements and
Hmm.
things. And but yeah, it's been fun. It's been
So,
fun kind of
yeah,
getting back into things.
a few less hats to wear and a few less kids to work with, but probably a
hmm
good thing is you're in a new conference and new
hmm
lay of the land and all that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the last podcast and a half, I always talked about, oh man, NIL, rev share, all this stuff is.
Right.
I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that, and now I'm in the midst of it. So,
Deep, yeah, I bet.
yeah, but it's been good. Like I think any athlete or any coach when they get the opportunity to either compete or coach at one of the highest levels that you can reach in our sport. I mean,
Mhm.
you gotta jump at that chance because you never know when it's going to pop up again. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how my coaching style and my coaching skills kind of match up to the rest
Absolutely,
of the
yeah.
conference because
Hey,
the
some
national
big
champ
dogs in there.
in men's high jump came from Big Ten last year. So
Right.
um, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, well, you're in the big leagues now, right?
hmm
I mean, as big as Army was, now I think personally, I think it's either the Big Ten or the SEC still in almost every
hmm
sport that we can name is where the big money is. If you've got your own network, you get the Big Ten network that's going to show
hmm
football, women's volleyball is on right now,
hmm
basketball when it comes up. and I'm assuming I didn't watch last year, but I'm assuming they're going to cover at least a track meet here or there, a couple
Hmm.
you'd like to see. So,
Yeah.
if you got your TV revenue coming in, now you can start writing some checks. You got to pay coaches, you got to pay athletes, and the SEC and the Big Ten are competitive. They don't like to just
Hmm.
show up and be average at stuff, right? So
Yeah.
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 They're not going to
Yeah.
be like, oh, yeah, we got a high jump coach. Cool. Yeah, he's been here for 10 years. What have they done? Well, not much, but he shows up every day. They're
Yeah.
good kids. It's like they don't,
Hmm.
they don't want to hear that at the Big Ten.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, it's been it's been a little bit of an adjustment for sure. Like going from West Point where we don't worry about NIL, we don't worry about rev share. We're kids aren't coming to West Point solely for just athletics. Like they're
Right.
committing to more than just school and track. Where here, we still got some really good students. Penn State's a great and an academic institution. I feel like it gets kind of overshadowed by all the athletic stuff that we do, but great academics. So I've got some really great, smart kids. But when they're on the track team and we're competing in Big Tens and we're going to Arkansas, down to Florida for track meets for Florida relays, Big Ten championships, the expectation is you get people that are going to score and you get people to the NCAA level.
Sure.
Um, and I tell my athletes this all the time that NCAA track, especially at the Big Ten level, is essentially a pro sport, but you're just not making any pro money.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, you have to be able to compete with international kids, and
Hmm.
they're going to go back and be making Olympic trials and Olympic teams for their home countries.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, especially with an Olympic year coming up in 2 years, it's things are starting to kind of like, at least in the
Yeah.
college world, I feel like it's starting to kind of pick up of like, okay, that's kind of in the horizon now of like
Sure.
that's what we're working towards and going towards. And I think I definitely have some athletes that are like, that's my goal is to go Olympic trials and make
Awesome.
some marks and do some things. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm kind of along for the ride, kind of just doing the best I can to put them in the best position I can. So
It's awesome, Mike. I'm just stoked for you.
mhm.
Having that opportunity and, having getting in there now you're going to be involved in recruiting, right? You got to get,
Mhm.
I'm sure after this year, more so because you got a chance to be there and see what the needs of the
Mhm.
program are, and your name is going to go around, and you're going to find. I just there's so much there for you. It's great.
Mhm.
I was wondering now we're coming around, and this is the for people listening to the podcast, I think if you're a high school parent, this is where it's really interesting to listen to Mike Ashton here from Penn State. I saw it's the Cougars, right? Is it the Penn State Cougars?
Nittany Lions.
Nittany Lions. I should know that better than anybody. I just looked it up last week. Ma'am, I'm tired.
It's all
My
right.
wife
That's
asked me,
all
"What's a
right.
Nittany Lion?" Because UCLA just I don't want to throw in any digs here, but UCLA just ruined
They
your.
they did just ruin it. Northwestern put the nail in the coffin, but
Mhm.
UCLA definitely. So a Nittany lion is essentially a mountain lion. We
Right,
have what's called a Mount Nittany out here. This is gonna look not the best for me, but there is some meaning behind the word Nittany. It has a I think it's a just because the mountain stands alone. I think it has something to
right,
do with like Nittany lions standing alone,
right,
being kind of the pinnacle of everything. But
right.
yeah, it's been a it's been an interesting couple of weeks
I
because
bet.
obviously Penn State football is
Huge.
just
Yeah,
huge,
yeah,
huge.
yeah,
National playoff or national title playoffs last year, and then just a complete
yeah,
kind of just dismantling of everything this year. It's been
yeah.
really, really interesting to kind of sit back and see. And I didn't know this. Coming from the West Coast at UVU, we didn't have a football team.
Right,
And I went there, so college football wasn't really on my radar. I mean, I always followed it and loved watching it, but
right.
just the level of dedication and
Oh yeah,
just hype and love for this team and this school
yeah,
is on another level that I didn't
yeah.
really understand until I was actually at the game last Saturday with Northwestern with
Hmm.
recruits. And just the pageantry, the tradition, the
Yeah.
everything that they do is on this whole other level. And just to kind of see everybody's passion for it
Hmm.
is pretty cool. And I'm excited to kind of sit back and watch how administration and the school and everybody kind of handles this like transition of, we had a guy for 12 years
Yeah.
and now it's
Yeah.
we're in the thick of it just like everybody else.
Well, he
So
he righted the ship after, Papa Joe left, right? So
yeah,
that,
so Bill O'Brien was actually I think here for a few years. So Bill O'Brien was the first one that they got in right after Joe Paterno
yeah.
retired and left, and then
This
James
is the
Franklin
first
came in.
really, really big
Hmm.
high profile, right? I mean, they came into the preseason ranked number 2, right behind Texas,
They
right?
did.
And started out
Yeah.
3-0. So yeah, the
Hmm.
tough game to Oregon, and
Yeah.
it's hard to, it doesn't matter what anybody says, kids, pros, whatever. I watched UCLA's first 4 games, and we were terrible,
Hmm.
showing, excuse me, a little bit of improvement in losing to Northwestern. But in the first half of that game, we're kind of getting our butts kicked again. And so,
Hmm.
as a Bruin fan of many years, and my first 3 years at UCLA, we won 3 bowl games, a couple Rose Bowls, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is the way football's always supposed to be, the Terry Donahue years. And then, it's been a long drought. So, having a couple decent years, we make it a little run. We're 8-5. I mean, these are decent years, terrible. You're not in the national
Hmm.
championship hunt. So, and watching, and I know Deshaun Foster from this area,
Hmm.
and where I'm at, he was literally, your boy Aiden jumped at Edison.
Hmm.
Edison's probably 20 minutes from El Toro High
Hmm.
School. Or it wasn't El Toro, sorry, it was Tustin. And
Hmm.
Deshaun Foster ran at Tustin, and he and Carson Palmer played in the ends in the CIF final championship when they were both seniors. And Deshaun ran for 7 touchdowns, and they lost because Carson Palmer threw for 8 touchdowns. So it's
Wow.
56-49, Santa Margarita versus Tustin. And then
Hmm.
Carson Palmer went to USC and Deshaun Foster went to UCLA, and they had another 4 years of it and both played in the pros. So, I mean, I was a big Deshaun Foster fan. He played in the Super Bowl for the Panthers, and then,
Hmm.
was a great assistant coach, great running back coach. And, he was just kind of the next man up. And, maybe it wasn't the right gig for him. Sometimes
Yeah.
and boy, the guy that they found right there on their own staff that he had actually called in to be his right hand assistant head coach, made the right move immediately of hiring a guy he knew as a DC, and then
Hmm.
they gave Jerry Neuheisel's kid a
Hmm.
chance, and all of a sudden, you know, oh my gosh, it was just crazy. Or not, it
Hmm.
is Jerry Neuheisel, not the other coach, but anyway,
Yeah.
I was just it's gone from man, we really, really suck to,
Hmm.
hey, we're not bad. Like this,
Yeah. We're not. We're
this
we're
team
doing
looks pretty
okay.
good. Like
Yeah.
the schedule's going to kill us, but
Hmm.
it's all of a sudden I'm like, well, we could win 4 or 5 games. Maybe we get to 6-6 and make a bowl game, right?
Yeah.
But
Make a
that's
bowl.
nothing like what you're used to. The Penn State, like you said, that's where you get the huge money and all that stuff, and then you guys get the
Hmm.
benefit of the overflow,
Hmm.
from football. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and I think it just kind of goes back to just what the day and age of sports is right now at the college level of like with all the money that is being put into players, coaches, facilities, they're renovating and adding on to Beaver Stadium, so it's
Mhm.
going to be the largest college football stadium in the country when it's
Wow.
done.
Yeah.
It there's it's like the NFL. There's no patience anymore. If you
Hmm.
show any sign of drop off or any sign of like letdown of what the expectation is,
Yeah.
it's like we're going to have a serious conversation.
Right.
And Penn State has always been known for we're going to keep a guy, we're going to stay loyal to him because we're more about the program and the development and the legacy and all this and that.
Right.
And now it's I think this is a big turning point because Joe Paterno was here for
Ever.
what was it 40 something years as
Oh
an
yeah.
assistant and then a head coach and then James Franklin was here for 12, which in this day and age, that's kind of crazy and wild
Mhm.
that he was here that long. And
Pretty long run, yeah.
so, who knows how it's going to go? I mean, I just keep hearing on the national and, obviously local, but national of like Penn State's a destination. Like if you're going to take a job, the
Oh
goal
yeah.
is you're going to be here for
It's a
some
plum
time.
job for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
it's high profile. When I was a kid, growing up, I remember some of these names. You're younger than I am, but Matt Millen played linebacker, ended up playing for the Raiders for years. Played for the 49ers and was on a Super Bowl team. He played at Penn State, and Penn State was known as linebacker U back when I
mm-hmm,
was a kid. So if you were, chances are if you were a great, pro linebacker, you might just automatically expect that they actually went to, Penn State. And so it
mm-hmm,
was always had a reputation of just really tough, hard-nosed. Anybody knows anything about the state of Pennsylvania, from the Steelers to the Eagles
mm-hmm,
to anything. Joe
mm-hmm,
Montana grew up in Pennsylvania, right, and was
mm-hmm,
Pittsburgh. Wherever he played his ball as a high schooler, was in Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania. So it's like, it's got these incredible, and I think I want to say Joe Namath as well. But anyway, you know
mm-hmm,
everybody's into their football, like you said. It's maniacal, and
mm-hmm.
the interest and focus and the money. I mean, they gave him a $49 million buyout. That's just insane to me. Like you said, I mean, you're not our guy anymore. We're willing to pay you to go away, and we're
Mm-hmm.
going to pay somebody else and continue moving ahead. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's just like throwing away $49 million. I mean, and it kind of makes me angry in one respect because I think about the same thing here in California. I'm like, okay, well, how did we get that money? Is that like taxpayer money or is it like donor money? Like it's a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
money to throw around.
it's very, very interesting. And there's gonna be more college coaches, high profile schools that are gonna be in the same boat at the end of the
Oh
year of
yeah.
like buyout, buyout, buyout. And it's like,
Yep.
man, I was saying this the other day, like the best job in college sports is a fired football coach because you're making,
Yeah,
generational wealth for being
sure.
not doing a good
Taking
enough
time off,
job for
or
the
you can
place that,
double up, right? And be an
yeah,
announcer somewhere, right?
yeah. I mean, he's got his options. He's gonna hop on College Game Day tomorrow, supposedly, and do
Right.
like an interview. So it'll be interesting to see kind of his
Yeah.
perspective. So
I'm interested to see if he was a CEO type head coach or if, was he in charge of the offense or the defense? I don't really know much about Franklin, but like some of
yeah,
these guys, Robert Saleh was not a great head coach for the Jets, although their defense was always good. And anybody
hmm
that knows anything about Robert Saleh knows that he knows how to run a defense. So, he
defensive guy.
bounces
Yeah.
back to the Niners and they're just welcoming him with open arms and going, "Hey, fix our defense for us." And he was doing a good job. And
Mm-hmm.
even though he's lost two of his best players, in the last couple of
Mm-hmm.
weeks. So and some of those guys, you know how it is with the pros, and even in the colleges, Sarkeesian and all these different guys have had different head coaching jobs here and were assistants there, and they just
Mm-hmm.
they can bounce
Yeah.
seamlessly from one place to another.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
yeah, well, it makes your job interesting, like you said. First of all, nobody has any patience, and secondly, like you have to automatically go hunting for these kids that are high school seniors, and they're getting ready
mm-hmm.
to come to your program. Maybe you can find a guy to junior college. I'm sure you guys are going to do your share of looking at those, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, they need to be able to score for you
Mm-hmm.
at the conference meet, at NC2As. They're competing against
Mm-hmm.
foreign-born athletes. They're competing
Mm-hmm.
against teams with just as much revenue as you have and
Mm-hmm.
nice facilities, and they're paying their coaches. And I mean, it's crazy. And you go, I mean, this is just track and field. And I mean, I was telling this story out here. I've got a young athlete that was thinking about coming to Vanguard. And
Mm-hmm.
he was at Biola and he jumped 6'8" this year. I saw him a couple times and I'm like, okay, respect. He's a sophomore and he's jumping 6'8". It's Division II. And I'm like, well, that's a pretty good jump. He did pretty well at the conference meet and he's thinking about coming to Vanguard. And I was stoked. He knew who I was. I'd seen me jump with a couple of the kids. And then he goes, well, I got an offer to go to Wyoming, full ride.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, well, that's great, man. Good for you. And he goes, they're going to pay me. And I went, they're going to pay you? And he goes, yeah, they're going to pay me $1,000, a month. So he's going to, I mean, I'm like anybody else would go $12,000. So what?
Hmm.
I'm like going, dude, I didn't get paid anything. I walked
Hmm.
on at UCLA, jumping 6'10" and 3/4, and I started thinking about it. I was like going, man, everything has changed. I mean, UCLA laughed in my face when I told them I wanted to go there. They're just like, we're loaded. We got plenty of guys. We don't need you. And it wasn't until I made it to the state meet my senior year and won CIF that they even gave me a little bit of an opening and said, well, if you
Hmm.
if you really want to come here, we can get you in and you can walk on and we'll see how it works out. But there was
Yeah.
no money, no scholarship, no nothing, you know. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, this is kind of the way things are going, right? You're gonna pay a little bit, you're gonna get guys in, you think they can succeed, do well at your conference meet, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
So how does that change what you're doing as you're looking for these kids?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like track is interesting, and the rules that were put in for football and basketball, I think are going to make track more, there's going to be more parity. There's going to be kids that are going to go to, mid-major schools
Yes.
because there's just no spots for
They can't
them
get in
at
at the
the
big ones. Yeah.
Power Four. Yeah, I mean, and I try to be as transparent as I possibly can with kids that I'm recruiting. Like any kid that's in Pennsylvania, I want to reach out to and talk to because it's like, the in-state connection. Everybody loves Penn State. Everybody knows Penn State. So if you've got any, sort of potential or talent, or I look at your film and it's like, hey, we can do something here. Like I want to have a
Right.
conversation, but I also have to do the other side of the coin of like, look at what conference we're in. National champ just came from our conference. 7 feet, 6'11", 7 feet is what's going to score,
Right.
and it's super competitive because we've got USC, so we've got West Coast high jump
Hmm.
kids, doing their thing. UCLA, we got Washington, and Oregon is.
Oregon's
I don't want
loaded.
to take.
Oregon's
Yeah,
got mega
Oregon's
millions
loaded
of
because
dollars. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
picking who they want, and so I'd be transparent and say, hey, like these are the kids that I'm recruiting. These are my standards to even consider you for some type of scholarship.
Right.
Now we still do get the opportunity to do walk-ons, but it's a tough road. Like it's again, I wish I could be patient and say, hey, I have a really good ability to develop kids because that's what I've always done, at UVU and West
Right.
Point is bring a kid in, I see something, let's get them going and get them to a national,
Yeah.
level. Um, but the timeline is just shorter. And
Yeah. And the patience,
I'm
like you said, is so much less.
yeah, and it really comes down to I feel like I'm having to rely on my ability to evaluate and see and find high jumpers based on their film and their consistency and their PRs of like, yeah, cool, you've got a 6'10", jump. Cool, you broke, 209, 210, but what do the rest of your jumps look like? Are you I
Yeah.
popped off a 6'10", but it's like 6'3", 6'1", 5'10", no height,
Yeah.
no height.
Right. Right.
Consistency for me, I think, is the key to this entire thing. And I tell kids that all the time because if your PR is a little bit lower, but your consistency is almost at that PR level, that tells me
Yeah.
you're due for something good coming up. So, um,
Not a flash in the pan. Yeah.
yeah, it's just everything more. It becomes more in a microscope of evaluation of talent. And okay, so yeah, you've got this mark. Where does that stack up in our conference? And what do I believe you're going to be able to do year one, year two, year three, year four, year
Yeah.
five? Um, and it's tough, especially kind of already talked about it of like high school kids. That's you jump that at high school when you're living at home. You've had your high school coach.
Yeah.
you know, what are you going to do when you show up and opening height is 1 bar, 2 bars above
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
PR,
Yep.
or your PR is, 2 bars below opening height. So, um, there's a lot that goes into it. And high school kids, I think there's definitely scholarship money and money out there, but it's not as widespread as you'd think because,
Yeah.
we're
You
all
have to
going
be
after
like,
transfers.
yeah,
We're all trying to find those mid-major kids that,
sure.
took a position at a wherever, and then it's like, hey, I'm hopping in the transfer portal because I put
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah.
kind of it's always the Wild West, but I've stuck with my roots of I'm gonna be able to find a kid that's gonna be able to do something, and if they're willing to take a shot and maybe sacrifice a little bit, at the beginning, but they believe in themselves, they trust me, they're vibing with what I'm saying,
Yeah.
you can jump yourself into more scholarship money. That's the cool thing too, is
Yeah.
I think schools are now just instead of like, hey, you're just going to keep the same scholarship the entire time, there's more of a communication of like, okay, if you're scoring at Big Tens, if you win a Big Ten championship, if you get to first rounds or, All American, we're going to take care of you
Yeah.
because that's a known commodity. We know what we have. Um,
Absolutely.
but it's a balancing act because um, each school has their priorities, each school has what they want to focus on, and I you can get into the weeds about that, and there's lots of I don't think it's fair to get rid of field events and just focus solely on either the track or distance because that just gets away from our sport. I'm also a field
Exactly.
guy, so I guess I'm biased, but
Mhm.
um to win a Big Ten championship, you have to have a full team. You can't just run it through,
Yeah.
we're going to load up distance and sprints, or we're going to load up high jump, vault, and throws. Like you've got to be balanced across the table. Um, and I think we're doing a really good job of that. And I think we are loading up some young athletes that did some really good things their freshman year and they're returning. And I've got I've got some studs in my group that had a tough year last year, just confidence wise, jumps weren't coming together, things were just off, and first month and a half has looked has looked really really good.
Yeah.
It's early, we got a lot to continue to do and a lot to focus on, and we're barely scratching the surface of full approach
Yeah.
pop ups and just getting the feel for it. But I'm excited for what we got coming, and I just, keep it simple. Like
Right.
that's all I try to do because it can become overwhelming and stressful, and imposter syndrome just sets in just like
Yeah.
everybody else sometimes. But you're like, no, I know what I'm doing. Got to
Yeah.
trust, what's been working, but always looking to learn and get better. So,
Well, I find this interesting because I know I went through it and I have to battle with the high school kids because especially on the West Coast, the indoor track season on the West
mm,
Coast is bizarre because there really is no indoor track season on the West Coast. You don't have any
hmm
indoor facilities. You don't need any indoor facilities.
right.
So, when we qualify at Vanguard for indoor nationals, it's at outdoor meets and they take,
Mm,
or whatever your marks are, and they go, do they meet the standard? And then you go to, for the most part, these weird tracks that are way
hmm
crammed together, and they're not used to them.
hmm
And the training's all wrong for a lot of these high school athletes.
hmm
They probably weren't at a program because I know, I've done enough training with enough different schools now. Some of the higher level programs will start in the fall, but not all of them. Some of them wait till November, December to get
hmm
rolling, because they're not training for any indoor things. There's no
hmm
indoor championships out here for the high schoolers, so they don't really have that, And so if you start jumping them really early, then maybe they burn out, at
hmm
mid-season. So you got to really be careful with your volumes. And I remember
hmm
that first year at UCLA when I was training, I had played football, all through high school. So I never did track and field, and I was always beat up at the end of football season. So I would take, a month off or so and heal
hmm
up, and and you'd show up to start practicing around, January, February, whatever, and it all worked out. Timing was pretty good.
hmm
And then I remember that freshman year at UCLA, it was like, man, we got there. First day of school was October 4th.
hmm
Long, great summer, but it was like
yeah, yeah.
October 4th sounds really late to everybody else because man,
hmm
my high school started August 11th this year. But um, October 4th, even then, October, November, December, we had 3 months and they just were really hitting us. I mean, I remember
hmm
going to my 8 o'clock classes and just I could barely keep my eyes open. I was so tired. We're
hmm
running cross country course, we're lifting, we're doing all this stuff, and I'm just like, and of course, as we both know, that first year at the year level, you have no idea what you're getting into. And so
None.
you're just trying to feel your way around. You're like,
Yeah.
you're just going for it because you don't want to,
Mhm.
not show up and do anything. And, I
Right.
had that year you're talking about. That freshman year of mine was terrible. And since I was a
Hmm.
walk-on, they didn't even bother. They weren't like, oh, you're a scholarship athlete. You had a really lousy year. Do you want to call that your redshirt year? And they didn't even bother. They're just like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. You had a terrible year, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't as bad in retrospect. I mean, I made one travel meet and blah, blah. I got to go to Oregon, which was fun. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was, I mean, I jumped 6'8" once, and then 6'6" a couple times. It's terrible. And so put on 15 pounds, got slower. I mean, it just everything was wrong, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what is going on here? But it's just a different animal. All the
Hmm.
early training, you get bogged down in that sometimes. And, as an
Yeah.
athlete, when you don't feel that snap, like I just felt like I was running through molasses, trying to get off
Hmm.
the ground and always felt tired. I never felt explosive, so
Hmm.
um, it's just really, really different for these,
Yeah.
you know, that first year for some of them because
Hmm.
you said that, the adjustment. Now, maybe they were fortunate enough to be at a high school that had indoor stuff. And, I
Hmm.
really don't have much knowledge of that, how that works. The only exposure
Well,
I have
it's
to who look at it on Instagram.
yeah, it's kind of wild, because obviously, being West Coast, and then when I was coming up, indoor was kind of a thing, but not like really. But now it's huge, like especially out east, northeast, like we have to have
Yeah.
an indoor season because it's snowing outside.
What
So
else are you gonna do?
yeah, exactly. So, but what's interesting is I feel like there's two sides to it. There's the high jump kids that just jump in the spring and they do another sport. So then you have to get used to, hey, I'm training high jump all year long. And then there's the flip side to that of like, man, a lot of these high school kids are competing every single weekend in indoor. And they've
Yeah.
got 10 meets under their belt in indoor, and then they go to their outdoor, and it's like
Yeah.
compete every single weekend for
Yeah.
10, 15, and then there's Nike Nationals, New Balance,
Wow.
Adidas. They're throwing on 20
Yeah.
jumps, 20
Too
sessions
much.
a season, which is wild to me. And
Yeah.
that's what I always tell kids. And they always look at me like I'm crazy when I say, you're not going to jump every single weekend. If
Right.
you do, we're doubling up and then we're taking a break.
Yeah.
And if you do, we're doing it for a very specific reason. And they're like, well, I want to compete. I love competing. That's what I love doing. I'm like, I love competing too.
Yeah.
I also want you to compete and not be burnt out and your knees and ankles and feet exploding by the time we get to outdoor.
Yes.
So
Huge.
it's all a balancing game. And some people can handle higher volume and some people
Yeah.
can't. And it's I tell high school kids all the time, like if you come in your freshman year and you are hitting your high school PR and you're consistent around that, that's a win. Like
Yeah.
that's a great freshman season
Yep.
because anything on top of that is cherry on top. There are high school or freshman college kids that pop off and do something crazy,
Right.
which is great. That's cool, but that's not the norm. Like
Yeah.
sophomore, junior, senior year is when you really start to see some good development and some good progressions and just some
Mhm.
really, blow ups because freshman year, you're just figuring out how to live on your own.
Right.
You're
Right.
trying to
Yeah.
figure
It's a
out the new
huge
coach.
adjustment. Yeah. Living
Yeah.
away from home, especially if you go across the country.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's tough. Like there's a lot of these high school kids that I talk to that are like, yeah, my freshman year in college, I want to see some big PRs. I really want to see some big improvement. I want to jump, whatever, whatever. I'm like, I'm glad you're ambitious. I'm glad you want to work really, really hard to get there. And I'm all about the optimism and, setting high goals to stretch yourself. But there's also the realist in me that's like, I've been doing this long enough to know freshman year is going to be a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
But things are changing too. I feel like with high school kids getting access to, stuff you're putting out, stuff on YouTube, stuff other
Yeah.
coaches are putting out, college athletes going back and coaching at the high school level now, they're it's getting better for sure. I think
Yeah.
that there were almost 10 juniors last year that jumped over 7,
Yeah. Yeah.
which means coming
Jordan
into the
Randall,
senior
one of them.
year.
Jordan Randall jumped 7'2" last year
Yeah.
as a 5'7" junior.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pretty
it's
amazing.
Yeah, track inflation's definitely a thing. And but yeah, I think um there was a lot of doom and gloom when the roster limits came out and when everybody was like, "Oh man, scholarships are going to be cut. It's getting
Hmm.
tougher and tougher." I think it may create a little bit more parity, and I think it's going to give kids opportunities to, give full rides at other schools and still
Yeah.
stay there. And because, I worked with a couple of coaches at West Point that came from D2, D3,
Hmm.
schools, and I've seen it all the time. There are great and amazing coaches at the D2, D3 level, like
Hmm.
so good.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing. They have just a dynasty of good high jumpers and pole vaulters or whatever
Yep.
coming through there. And they just love the D2, D3 level. Like they don't want to try and,
Yeah.
go to the D1 because it's such a chaotic, crazy
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not like they can't do it. And then vice versa at the D1 level, there's some great recruiting coaches
Yeah.
and that are mediocre high jump coaches.
Sure.
So it's a crazy world, and I know we're all out here trying to do our best, and I'm not trying to dog anybody, but
No, no,
it's just the
it's like
kind of
a
the state
trade
of the
secret.
world.
Yeah, it's a trade secret, right? There's
Hmm.
there's good recruiters and then there's good coaches. One of my favorites to watch the work that he's been doing. I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but his jumpers say he won't do it. Is the Grand Valley State guy, Steve
Yeah.
Coach Jones.
Hmm.
Last year his guys went what 1, 2, 3, 6 at the NC2As for Division
And
Two.
they would have placed probably close to the same at D1s.
They would have, yeah, pretty
They're
close.
pretty
Eli
freaking
probably would
good.
have won it, right? Because he was jumping what 230, so
Hmm.
and
Consistent
consistently
220.
hitting. Yeah, he was way up there.
Hmm.
So they've got incredible talent, and he's doing some
Hmm.
stuff there with them. I've been studying both Javon and
Hmm.
Eli's work in particular. Marcus
Hmm.
Gelby, is from out here. He went to Santa Rosa
Hmm.
Community College, and then, I remember him sending me his jumps as a senior, in
Hmm.
high school. And so now he's at Grand Valley State, and I'm just like, wow, that's awesome. What a great place to end up. There's
Did he go to K-State first? Is that the kid I'm
yes,
thinking of?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I got to spend some time with Cliff Revelto at K-State for a summer. And I met him while I was there, and I've followed him ever since. And that was Cliff Revelto left K-State, and then he went to Grand Valley,
Hmm.
and I was like, man, he's gonna pop off. Like there's just it's
Yeah,
too good of a high jump program, and you know that they know what they're doing when you see them
yeah.
doing their approaches and their drills and everything. Um, yeah, they've got something going on up there. It's pretty incredible to watch.
Yeah, I want to be that fly on the wall. I'm trying to get them back on. I did one podcast with two of them right in the
Mm-hmm.
middle. I forget which one I was talking to because I
Mm-hmm.
there's four of them. So I was like, okay, wait, and then he goes, hey, Eli's here. You want to talk to Eli? I'm like, oh yeah. So I'm like, man, we got to get all four of you, in the room at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, and Coach Steve is I guess just either shy or I don't know what he didn't want to talk, but I guess before Marcus came in 2024, three of them went to the trials. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like just unreal. But yeah, exactly what you're talking about. At a place like that, you have the ability to grow with
Mm-hmm.
a little bit less pressure, and if they end up leaving, they end up leaving. There was one kid I did a podcast with just last year who was a 6'7" jumper, and his name's escaping me right now. But as usual, I saw him on Instagram, and I saw a couple jumps, and I'm like, wow, this kid's really popping off. And I saw he jumped 6'11", then he jumped 7 feet, and
Mm-hmm.
just raw, really raw, but some really good ability. And when I got him on the pod, we were talking, and he was a guy that made that transformation. He was 6'7" in high school, so he was at a D2 school, one I've
Mm-hmm.
never heard of, and it's not coming back to me right now, but I'm listening to that. I'm going, wow, that's amazing. Then he jumped really well. I think he placed at his conference meet, and of course, immediately got cherry picked. And, one of those posts later on in the season, I see him going, I just want to thank the University of blah, blah, blah for my freshman year. And I'm taking my
Hmm.
talents to, I'm like, hey, it's LeBron, he's back.
Yeah,
So
going to
he
South
just,
Beach.
and they're gonna, pay him to go somewhere else. And I'm like, well, hey, that's college athletics right now. I mean, we
Hmm.
really need to get rid of the NC2A and, get some regulations that make sense as far as the
Hmm.
money goes. And when Texas can pay Eli Manning's or whichever Manning's kid,
Hmm.
$6-7 million to play
To sit the
football,
bench
to sit the
and
bench
then
his
play.
first 2 years and then come in
Hmm.
this year and really suck. And you're
Hmm.
like going, okay, wait, they were paying all this money because his name's Manning. Could this guy play in high school? Like, did anybody watch his film? I'm looking at him
Right.
going, wow, this guy's pretty average, but it's like he's making $6-7 million. So you go,
Hmm.
what happens then? What if he doesn't even get drafted? You're like, well, he made $6 or $7 million for a couple of years. The kid's set for life. So, and
Hmm.
that's the big money sports, but I'd like to see, a little bit of regulation, like the ability not for the kids to bounce. Like
Hmm.
we were worried here at UCLA because they said, they were 0-4, fired
Hmm.
the coach, and then they said there's like a week or two, and then they can hit the transfer portal. I'm like,
Hmm.
wait a minute now, we're in the middle of the season. I go, it's one
Hmm.
thing to ditch your team after the end of the season, but
Hmm.
don't be opening the transfer portal in the middle of the season. That's just like not even fair.
Yeah, 30-day window. If your coach gets fired, there's a 30-day window that
Yeah,
opens up and you can, jump ship and go figure it out. And
yeah,
it's yeah, I definitely think uh, probably not for the next couple of years. I think some more crazy things are going to have to happen before. But yeah, I mean they need a collective bargaining agreement.
yeah,
They
right.
need regulation. I mean, I think football kind of reigns supreme, and they're going to do what they want to do. And
Yeah.
um,
Well, it's the
if
second biggest money sport in the world, right? There's a pro
yeah,
football and then there's
yeah,
college football feeding right into it. Yep.
yeah. So I mean, if USATF was organized and more organized, this would be a good opportunity to say, hey, like we're going to work this where we can still stay in the NCAA, but we're going to be kind of the governing body and deciding,
Yeah.
working with the NCAA to make regulations. It's just I think there's so much kind of up in the air, and I think USATF is in kind of a transition period too, where they're trying to figure out, how we're going to do this because there's a lot of really, really good talent coming up,
Yeah.
through the high school level,
Absolutely.
and there's the distance girl from Utah who was breaking all the college national records as a high schooler, and she
Yeah.
just broke a course record this weekend in Missouri, like.
Wow.
And then there's Quincy Wilson, and then there's kids all over the place that are putting up marks that
Yeah.
we got to get this USA track and field thing back on track so that we can be dominant. Because I talk to kids about that all the time, and a lot of them ask me like, "What's your philosophy? Like, how do you coach? What do you kind of look at with high jump or pole vault?" And it's like, man, I look at the high level stuff, and I look at what not just what they're doing, and I'm not trying to say, "Hey, I'm going to turn you into."
Right.
Barshim or Hamish or, Mondo, but I'm looking at what's their consistency and what are they doing across the board with everybody that's working.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, how are the Australians, the Italians, and Barshim and all these other guys so consistent?
Yeah.
Like, the U.S. had no high jumpers at Worlds.
That's a
I
bad
mean,
sign. After
yeah,
McEwen taking the silver. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and he jumped great, and it's not like the U.S. doesn't have talent. It's just
Yeah.
where's the consistency? Where's the continual growth? And I know it's really, really difficult, and I'm not saying I have
Right.
all the answers, but you gotta go where it's showing up, and you gotta see what they're doing and looking at what they're doing. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's always just, I think for me, I'm always going to be trying to learn, like, what's the next thing. I'm always going to be trying to pick up, hey, I saw, Grand Valley's doing really good things. Like, what do their jumps look like?
Right.
What does their takeoff? Trying to see and figure out in my brain, okay, how can I apply this to what we're
Yeah.
trying to do and fit it to, my athletes. So,
Yeah. It's
but
huge right now. There's this huge opportunity. Like you said, everything's going to come to a crescendo in a couple of years here with the advent of the Olympics. It's in Los
Mm-hmm.
Angeles. We've got the Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
It should be huge. And the problem is that track and field is huge once every 4 years, and then it becomes very non-relevant. And
Mm-hmm.
problem is simply that we're not seen on TV. And if what the problem is that we cater to a smaller and smaller number of fans every year because we're all dying off. I'm going to be 62 in February, and some of the people that I jumped against that were Olympians, are even older than I am, and my coach is a
Mm-hmm.
little older, and there's some of my coaches at UCLA are in their 80s now. Tom
Mm-hmm.
Tellez, who coached Carl Lewis, is in his 80s, late
Mm-hmm.
80s. And we've got, all this, and you have those fans that know everything about track and field. So
Mm-hmm.
the definition of the word fan is they're fanatical. They're going to follow you no matter what. The problem is we're not getting any new fans because they're all
Mm-hmm.
attracted by everything else because it's
Mm-hmm.
competition like everything else, and there's not enough exposure for track and field athletes. And I was looking for Nike Nationals or this or that on my phone, and I couldn't find anything. You have to
Mm-hmm.
really dig to find
Mm-hmm.
stuff. How can I watch? Is there any live streaming? Is there, and the sport is so dumb when it comes to high schools and everything else. I'm like, I was at one of the levels of CIF, and I go to this guy, I go, look, I don't have a huge following, okay, but I got a little. I said, if you would either give me a microphone or let me down there to film the high jump from a decent angle and
Mm-hmm.
put it on my site, I'll be happy to promote you. I will film every single high jumper and I'll even do a running commentary. It's like, no. They're just like, I mean, they look at you like you're insane. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
you realize nobody knows that you're here. And this is California,
Mm-hmm.
a very, very competitive state. Southern California
Mm-hmm.
is crazy. Getting through the minefield of all the different steps through Southern California just to get to state finals is
Yeah.
crazy. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody would know that, and we don't know what it's like for the people back east. Do we ever see the Drake relays? Do we ever see the Penn relays? Do we ever see? You don't see any of that back here.
Mm-mm.
Ever, so it's like there's just such a huge gap in, what's being seen. And it's like we need to find a way to either re-envision, repackage, remodel from, you know, I mean, my mentor, Alan Hankel, is, really trying to spearhead, something that just says, hey, let's remodel this in a way that everybody will find it interesting, and
Mm-hmm.
because like you and I know, if you're watching track and field, what are you going to see? You're going to see every running event they have. 100, 200, 400, 800 mile, 2 mile, the thousands,
5K,
those
10K.
are. You're going to see hurdles, and then they may occasionally throw in a field event, one shot here, one shot there. Oh, here's so and so, boom, boom. You bounce around, you miss all the drama that is inherent in the field events
Mm-hmm.
because they don't all perform at the same time. The race is here's 8 people, here's 9 lanes or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and phew, there they go. Okay, the first two made it, and then everybody else is done, and then we have another heat, and it's like, and they just get to sit there and just watch that. But it's like, where are the other? It's a three-ring circus, but the only people that go watch the pole vault are generally their pole vaulters' parents and boyfriends, girlfriends,
Yeah.
or whatever, and they go to that side of the stadium so that they can see it,
Mm-hmm.
be involved in it, and it's like
Yeah.
they miss all of that, all the
Mm-hmm.
drama. So how it's seen, um, you know, uh, the I don't even know. I'm thinking of like who could we learn from? We need to learn from people that put on telecasts that people find interesting. Anything from
Mm-hmm.
college and pro football, NASCAR is booming right now.
I
Uh,
mean, look at I think the big one is golf. I mean, because
Boring
the
sport to
big,
watch, but yeah,
yeah, the big argument is that track events are, field events are a little slow. Like there's
yeah,
breaks between jumps and attempts, which I get. You're putting up a
yep,
pole vault bar up to 19 feet. It's going to take a little bit of time, but
right,
these guys are hitting, 350, almost 400-yard drives. And oh, by the way, we're going to shift over to here. Somebody's going to be doing this. Somebody's going to be doing this. Like,
Back and forth. Yeah.
there's ways to do it. You just got to be creative with it. And I think there's just got to be, you got to start somewhere. Like, I think there was a point in time when track was very, like, people were invested and people knew about,
Yeah.
all the different athletes and what was going on and competing. And so when you're going into the Olympics, you at least have a general idea of like who's going to be there and what. You
Right.
didn't have to
Right.
be a track head to understand. And we've kind of faded away from that. I feel like there was a little bit of a drop off with all the, I think, steroids, and then everybody's just
Mhm.
assuming everybody's juiced, so it's not real competition.
Right.
Um, and but I think there's a real, you can you can grow a audience and you can grow a presence without overtaking or even dreaming about overtaking basketball, football,
Right. Right. Tough
golf, or
market for
whatever other
sure.
sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just tough. Like, and but I think you can definitely do a better job.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
100%. Like, you can easily put more things on TV. The other thing, it's just somebody's going to have to kind of sacrifice and take it on the chin for a little bit and do it.
Yeah.
And then you got to have the personalities and the athletes to back it up.
Yes.
Um,
So marketing the
that's
individual athletes, the individual
Yeah,
teams. Absolutely.
yeah, and
Smartly.
whatever your thoughts are on Noah Lyles, does a great job of promoting himself.
Right.
For good or for bad,
Somebody's
whatever
got to,
you're.
right? So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, Europe has figured it out. They have great following of track and field. All those Diamond League events are always usually pretty full.
Yeah.
So there's a solution in there, and there just has to be a group of people that decide, like, we're gonna figure this out and we're
Yeah.
gonna do
We
it.
gotta we gotta figure it out fast because if you saw what I saw at the US Nationals, I saw a lot of empty
Mm,
seats. If you're gonna go to Oregon, which has all of a sudden become
yeah.
the only place to go watch a big
Well,
meet, which I find kind of ridiculous. But I
tough
understand
to
money
travel to
is
from the
full
East
and
Coast.
everything. Sure. And you can't
Hmm.
find any place to stay. I wanted to go up see Nike
Yeah.
Nationals, and it was going to be like $300 a night at some crappy hotel. You're like, okay,
Hmm.
we plan this out a year in advance, and even then, it's probably going to cost me an arm and a leg. But
Hmm.
at the other end of it, why weren't the stands packed? Well, they were
Yeah.
charging $85 a seat to watch track and field,
Hmm.
which is pretty pricey so if I want to get some excitement, I want to see full stands and people cheering.
Hmm.
And so maybe we need to lower the price a little bit. And,
Yeah.
say TF, they're like vultures, those guys are fighting over the scraps at the top, and it's
Hmm.
amazing.
Well, and
Probably not making
I
any
think,
friends here, but
yeah, I think that there's also, and maybe this is just me because I don't consider myself like an outsider, but I kind of came up and did kind of my own thing and just have kind of gotten into it and really dove into it. I didn't come up through a lineage of coaches or people or, whatever. It was just like, hey, I'm going to figure this out and make it happen because I love doing it. There's this, like, I don't know. It's a little bit of like golf has a little bit of just this like prestige mentality of like, oh, you guys don't fully understand like what we're doing.
right.
Like, oh, Noah Lyles,
Elitist.
you
It's
don't.
elitist.
Yeah, yeah. It's just this elitist kind of mentality of like, we know how to train athletes the best.
Right.
Our athletes are better than yours. You guys can't, NFL guys, you guys can't show up to races and win. You're not going to have any chance. This is this. You stick to football, do your thing, whatever, whatever. I feel like it's kind of standoffish a little bit, and maybe it's getting better now that social media and, like, Noah Lyles did race, a couple of influencers, and Tyreek Hill
Right.
and him were going back and forth, but it's I think that's dumb. I think Mondo racing Warhol totally showed that people want to watch
Yeah,
random people race against each other. And then
exactly.
everybody knows who Warhol is, and everybody knows who Mondo is now. And there's just
Yeah.
this growing thing.
Everybody
And
should know who Mondo is because he's the greatest vaulter that's ever walked the planet, right? And he's,
for
the
real.
the same thing is both him and Bubka were in a
Hmm.
lot of ways close to being world-class sprinters. If you can run that
Yeah.
fast while you're holding a pole with both hands, imagine what you
Yeah.
do when you got to use your arms, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think you can do some of those novelty things. I think, yeah, they're a little bit cheesy, I think, but that's kind of that elitist mentality of like, oh, this is cheesy. We don't want to do this. We don't want to
Right.
disgrace our sport. It's like, we're not
You
going to have a
need
sport if we don't
viewers.
keep promoting
Exactly. This nobody,
because,
I keep saying track and field has died and nobody smelled the corpse yet. You
yeah,
know?
that's, yeah, it's kind of trending that way. I think distance is making a resurgence, which is great.
Yeah.
And, how have they gotten kids and people involved? It's because, hey, cross country, just come and show up. Like you're
Yeah.
racing against yourself. It's no big deal. We've got high level athletes that are going to go
Right.
on and do great things, but you can do this on your own. Sprinting is the same exact way. Like I see all the time now, and maybe it's because my algorithm is built this way, but a lot of training and a lot of personal trainers and all this stuff are talking about don't just go to the gym aimlessly. Like train like an
Yeah.
athlete, train like a
Yeah.
sprinter. You can do all these things and be explosive and be healthy, and it's the same thing. And high jump, pole vault, I fully aware that it's more specialized.
Right.
We're like the kickers of the track team, but
Yeah.
like you know, the,
Great
go
analogy.
out, learn how to high jump, learn to,
Just as mental too, right?
exactly. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Pole vault's a whole nother ball game, but
The
yeah, I
25
just think
yarder, but
that
the game's on the line. Shank. That's like that commercial. Mayhem walks by. Shank.
yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah. So I mean I love the sport. I know you do too, and I get to be around people that love it and want to put time and effort into it.
yeah.
And hopefully
We can keep
at
it
some
going. Yeah.
point we can just keep it going. And like I said, it takes that right person and that right personality. I
Mm.
mean, Michael Phelps dominated
Yeah.
for a long, long time.
Yep.
And, he swam, they do worlds, they do other competitions,
Right.
but it was the Olympics where he
Oh,
took
yeah.
over and then it was a following
Well, I don't
and
remember
still
ever
is.
seeing a world championship swimming event on TV.
Me neither,
Right.
but I know they happen. And it's
Exactly. Well, we also know
so,
what happens with track and field, but you don't see it on TV then either, unless you really know where to look. Right.
yeah, or you have to go through some paywall to see
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
So there's
I
ways
know
to
they
do
just
it.
happened, but I didn't see them. So,
Yeah, I saw
and I'm
them,
a fan.
yeah, yep.
It's difficult. Well, hey, Mike, I know it's getting late on your end, but we got to keep
Okay.
our lines of communication open. I do
Yeah.
want to maybe if you can carve out another time in the next couple weeks.
Mhm.
I'd love to go. And for those of you out there, again, we're here on Raise the Bar. I'm your host, Troy Haynes. We didn't even do our opening because I ran late and Mike was
It's all
very
good.
patiently waiting for me. And we're talking with Mike Ashton, who's the new high jump and pole vault coach at Penn State University. And, I have come to respect Mike's acumen as a coach because he's creative and he's open to new ideas and he has figured out how to get his kids to perform at high levels right away. I mean, what you did with Aiden Garnett was amazing because I remember thinking Aiden should be jumping a lot higher than he was. And yeah, he rolled his ankle playing basketball his senior year, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, he literally PR'd 3 times and won the pack, the WAC as a freshman.
Hmm.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's kind of what I was envisioning for him. But you were the one that
Hmm.
carried it through, and I'm like, well, as far as all that goes, I think there's a bunch of young coaches out there that I don't know how to phrase it the way I'm thinking, but I know, like myself, I know just enough as a pole vault coach to be slightly dangerous, where I see things mechanically that when I see it, I go, oh, that's really good. But when
Hmm.
somebody doesn't do that, my brain does not immediately go, okay, I know exactly what they did wrong and how to fix it. That's
Hmm.
totally different for me. High jump, long jump, triple jump to a point, I can see
Hmm.
those much quicker. Pole vault, I'm always kind of like, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't really know what to say, what drills to do,
Hmm.
blah, blah, blah. So
Hmm.
my thought process is I would love to, since we've covered all this other stuff, to go down and
Yeah.
say, hey, when you walk in the door at this job, and all of a sudden they go, here's your guys. Number one, how do I evaluate them? Number two, what are we going to do? Like you said,
Hmm.
are they super advanced? Are there drills that everybody should do? Even as very accomplished vaulters, or there
Hmm.
some drills that are no longer worthwhile because they're just too simple or,
Mm.
whatever. So, I'm trying to glean wherever I can, but I just don't have the time to go
Hmm.
watch Anthony Kern's pole vault anymore. And I'm
Do a
really
deep dive.
lucky.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky. I've started working at Los Alamitos High School again, and Steve Tully is there. And so
Mm.
Steve is Mike's, brother, and Mike was
Hmm.
a silver medalist in the Olympics from UCLA. Steve ended up going to Houston, and I think he got to train with Tellez a little bit, and he jumped, I think, 18-2. And he's just routinely kicks out good vaulters here at this high
Hmm.
school. But again, I'm working at the same
Yeah.
time as a high
Yeah.
jump
You're
guy, so I
busy.
can't
You're doing your
go
thing.
over and sit and ask all those questions, So like,
Hmm.
how do you make adjustments on the fly? Like I listen to Curran, and Curran's just like, oh, hey, move your handhold up 2 hands. So I know what that is. And then he goes,
Hmm.
move back this amount of feet. Okay. Go
Hmm.
grab the 165. And my brain is like, okay, wait. This he was okay. So if he's going up higher, but he's farther back, what he was under or he was out? My brain, and
Hmm.
that's annoying and yet fun. From my perspective, when I watch the high jump, I'm that guy that's going, oh, okay, here. This is what you need to do.
Hmm.
I don't hesitate. I know exactly what I'm looking at. I know this is how you need to
Hmm.
fix that. And so I have real general things about pole vaulting where I watch. I'm like, hey, you need to start picking up your feet when you run. Like you are
Hmm.
shuffling your feet. I don't care what you're doing. I don't even know how that applies, but I know that if you're going to be carrying any speed at all, I got to work on your running mechanics. Like I'll see those kinds of things. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I don't think you can plant the pole by your ear. I think this arm is straight.
Right.
Can't stick it in the box like you're trying to skewer a wild boar. You got to do this. So
Hmm.
the basics, yeah, but when it comes to the stuff that you're doing, those are and I've listened to and I had Sean Francis on a podcast, the
Mm.
TV pole vault guy,
Yeah.
and he really breaks some stuff down. But I'm just like,
Hmm.
I need to go to a camp for a month, and just watch everything because
Hmm.
that and it's just such a fascinating event. So if we
Yeah.
ever get a chance to do that, I would love to be that guy that just raids the inventory and steals
Yeah.
everything you got.
Yeah, absolutely. It's vault is something that it's taken me a long, long time. As an athlete, I was very instinctive. I could just I didn't necessarily know the exact terms or the exact things, but I could see it and be like, okay, this is what I need to do, and I know how to do it as an
Right.
athlete. The biggest transition was when I started coaching. It was like, okay, I can see it, but now how do I
How do you
explain
articulate
it
it?
and then
Yeah.
do drills so that we can get better? And it's taken, I tell my athletes this all the time, and I tell recruits and parents this all the time. Like, I, I mean, I've had success. I'm nowhere near the smartest pole vault guy in the room, like ever. Like I still like you sometimes sit down with pole vault guys and I'm like, man, how did you do that pole vault math so stinking quick?
Right.
Um, but for me, it was a lot of trial and error. You mentioned being creative, um, and just I think being a student of the game as much as you can. So yeah, I mean, I'll I I love breaking down film. I love coming
Yeah.
up with drills,
That'd be
and then
fun.
I guess if I'm gonna do a little teaser, my teaser would be something that just like clicked in my brain end of last year, beginning of this year is if we compare like basketball, soccer, football, all those other sports, what are you spending 90% of your time doing? Even if you're a high level player, you're spending 90% of your time dribbling, passing, shooting, footwork, all the simple,
Right.
fundamental things that are going to make the end product what you want.
Yes.
And you're spending 10% of the time with team strategy or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes that gets a little lost. And maybe this is just me projecting because it sometimes gets lost on me.
Right.
But the fundamentals of high jump and pole vault are so extremely important and key because all of the high elite pole vault people have mastered all those simple fundamental things and they can
Yes.
do them without even thinking.
Yeah.
And that's been my approach with my pole vault crew here is we're going to get back to, you guys are going to think this is boring. You may think this is just, hopefully you don't think it's beneath you, but guess what? We're going to do it
Yeah.
because it's going to make us better and help us get to the point where we feel confident that we can replicate everything every
Yeah.
single time. Um, and so yeah, that's kind of my teaser. But yeah, we definitely need to link up again.
Yeah.
I know you asked me on the phone, what was a month or so ago. I've lost track of time, but just
Don't we all?
being able to put some things together to just kind of give you basics and fundamentals. And I've been filming some of the drills that I've been doing, filming some of the things that I've have my vaulters
Mhm.
do, because like you said, I mean, it could turn into a series of things and series of, you know,
Yeah.
conversations and things that we could do and talk about,
Awesome.
because it can get real into the weeds. I do the best I can to keep it simple, but
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a lot. And
Yeah.
like Sean Francis always says, and if he listens, hopefully he does, I stole your mentality of it's an order of operations event.
Yes.
Everything builds on everything. And if you're
Absolutely.
not lining things up in your approach and your takeoff is bad, guess what? Everything else is going to look bad.
Yep.
So,
Yep. I preach that all the time. Same thing with my high
mm-hmm.
jumpers. I'm like, dude, why are you still bending forward? I had a kid the other day who's 6'5", and the bar's at 5'3", and he takes one step and drops down. I said, you are looking that bar eye to eye. At 5'3",
Yeah.
you're 6'5". Stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Just run tall, lean back, and go for a ride. What are you
Yeah.
doing? You're
Yeah.
loading up the wrong leg. So I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing. But yeah, it's the fun challenge, and
Mm-hmm.
but hearing you go at it and just watching that build up, that order of operations, to me, I mean, the one thing that most people don't realize is how sequential, what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing is how sequential mine is. You start running in a straight line, you start running on a curve, you take off,
Mm-hmm.
you fly, you figure out how to get over that thing without knocking it off, and then you land.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I literally go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like, how does
Yep.
each part lead to the next? So it's like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes I'm just like, I just need to teach this guy how to run. Kick
Yeah.
your knees up, kick
That's
your feet up, and kick you in the butt. I mean, and my problem is
mm-hmm.
I remember competing against people that did those things exceptionally well, and those were the guys that routinely beat the snot out of me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have jumpers that I jumped against that I never touched once. Brian Stanton, I jumped against over and over and over and over and over and over, and we trained together. And I was like, I never beat Brian Stanton in a meet ever. The one time I beat Lee Balkin, who's number 2 on the all-time list at UCLA, I had to PR twice to beat him, and it was
Mm.
barely. I think I beat him on misses when I jumped 222. And he was out of shape and was just looking for one of his first meets of the season. I was on a
Mm-hmm.
roll at the end of the season, get ready for NC2As. So I'm just like, okay. I look back and you're just like, what did these guys do? Oh yeah, Lee Balkin was really fast, tall, thin, flexible. I'm just like going, oh,
Mm-hmm.
any of those things. I had a little bit of,
Yeah.
I stopped at
But
six
it's
three. I wanted to be 6'7", like
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all like you said, sequential. And
Mhm.
the way I build my training and our progressions into the season, it's we're not even on the approach yet. We're going over wickets. We're learning
Yeah.
how to run. We're learning how to be fast. We're learning how to
Hmm.
be efficient. We're
Yep.
learning how to, get those heels cycling through so we're not dragging and running low.
Yep.
And I tell my athletes this all the time, and I tell everybody this all the time. There's going to come a point in time in our season and in our training where everything clicks in your brain and it makes sense of why we did it the way we did it. And
Yes.
then you're going to look at me and go, oh, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's almost like I know what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's because it happens for me as a coach too. Like, there's times where I'm sitting there planning, and I put it together and I'm like, okay, in my estimation, this is when it's all going to link up and it's all going to click and we're going to start rolling.
Yeah.
Every athlete's different. That's the variable, obviously,
Right.
but it's yeah. Once you start figuring out all the simple basic things, that's where the fun creative stuff comes in, because it's like, okay, how are we going to overcome this challenge? Oh, I had an athlete that
Yeah.
used to do this too. This is what we did to fix it, and
Oh, yeah.
it's just
Now you're preaching. I'm
lessons.
just like, trying to fix guys from being too close to the bar. Talk about my number one
I,
thing. Just over and
I
over and over
texted
and
you
over and
last year
over.
about that. Like that's the
Yeah,
same thing. It's
yeah,
so yeah, it's always something. And like I got another high jumper this year, just like Aiden, toe drag. And I'm like,
yeah,
man, back to toe drag and fixing
yeah.
this toe drag again.
Yeah.
And
Well, don't tell them the things I told them too, because I'm like, well, toe dragging is out, except, Charles Austin scraped his foot at 7'10 and a half. Sotomayor scraped his feet at 8 feet and a half. And
mm-hmm,
I watched that kid from Sweden, um,
mm,
Fabian Delrid, who jumped 7'7 3/4, and there's a dust cloud from his scrape on and I'm just like, okay, well, Fabian Delrid's 6'9", and it was like Sotomayor
there's
is
a few
Sotomayor.
outliers.
Yeah, these are outliers. Like most guys can't scrape their feet and get off the ground. So,
Mm-hmm,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But well,
mm-hmm.
hey, Mike, we're gonna cut this short.
Yeah,
But
no
I
problem.
I reserve the right to drag you
Always,
to the table again, and
always.
it'll be awesome.
Mm-hmm,
I want to keep alive the dialogue, and also this
mm-hmm,
ongoing how to fix the world of track and field, because I think it's like you said, it's important. And
mm-hmm,
I'm trying to build up a network of athletes that and coaches that feel the same way, that love the
mm-hmm,
sport, but are willing to look at it and say, we really need to do something, to
mm-hmm,
make it better. It's a great
mm-hmm,
sport. We've got great athletes, we've got great coaches, we've got all the things that we need, and yet we're
mm-hmm,
languishing, at the bottom where,
mm-hmm.
if I look for a big meet on my ESPN Sports app, I am not able to find it.
Mm-hmm.
That needs
Yeah,
to change.
yep.
So we'll work on that. But thanks again
Mm-hmm.
so much, always,
Of course.
for spending your time with us.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just hit me up in the chat. We'll figure out what's another good, Friday or
Yeah.
whatever before we get too deep into the holidays and all that.
Yep. All right. No, that sounds good. I always appreciate your advice. Always appreciate you responding to me and sending me, ideas and different things. And it's always fun to chat track.
Yeah.
Like I tell
Oh,
people all the time, I can do this for forever.
all right.
So you
It's a
got to
great
come in.
job.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but no, it was fun. I enjoy it. And yeah, anytime we'll get some things figured out, and I'll let you know my schedule, and we'll
Awesome.
we'll
Yeah.
we'll roll with it.
All right. Looking forward to
Okay.
it.
Yep.
Congratulations on the new gig. Keep working
Thanks.
hard. All right,
Appreciate it.
bud.
Yep.
Talk soon.
All right. See ya.
Bye. And that was Mike Ashton, the new high jump pole vault coach at Penn State University. Talk about a high profile gig. The football team has taken it on the nose the last couple weeks, and I'm happy to say my Bruins were involved. But that were three consecutive Big Ten losses, two to the West Coast, and cost Coach Franklin his job, which is too bad. But again, I'm sure he's not crying in his beer with a $49 million buyout. But yeah, we're looking to see obviously great things from Mike. He always turns out solid athletes, and is very open about training and new ideas and all that. So we want to thank him again, and just remember here on Raise the Bar to hit that subscribe button down on YouTube. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And you can subscribe. Also, you can follow me, Troy Haynes, the Sky High and Fly Guy, at on Instagram at Sky High and Fly Jump Lab. And also, we will just be coming up with some new information. I've got the checklist of techniques 2.0 coming out, and we're going to be doing some new stuff here as we kind of work our way through this slower period of the year before we hit competition season coming up for both indoor and out. So until next time, Troy Haynes, the Sky High and Fly Guy, here on Raise the Bar, signing off. We'll see you here soon.